So I'm still away for like another week or so, and I'll be back to the regular uploads once I'm home. But for now, here is the tutorial I made before I left, showing how I make one of my big old growl sounds.
So the main essence of the sound comes from a detuned saw wave. Nothing too interesting there. FMing another saw wave 2 octaves above, and then controlling the amount of the FM, you're already getting that growl characteristic. Next stage is add a little bit of noise, everything except for the noise through a filter. This can be tuned to taste. Then use another LFO to control the filter, opening it up. And this bit is sort of optional, but by having this quick drop down at the start of the LFO, you create a bit of a pluck. Add a sub oscillator and run that directly out. The way of bringing out the real growl is the effects and the post-processing. So back to LFO3, phaser and chorus with LFO3 controlling the delay and the frequency. You're adding some more modulation nodes, which when run through distortion can give very unique characteristics. So distortion immediately adds that crunch. But then you're getting too much high end, LFO1 to control the cutoff. Interestingly here, the mix is at 96, so it's still letting just a little bit of that high end noise through. Run it through an OTT, some reverb controlled by LFO3, another EQ with this node being controlled by LFO3, and this node being controlled by LFO1. Another important point is LFO2 controls the master tune. This is to help give a sharper attack to the sound. Then what I like to do is create duplicates of the growl, and by varying the shape of the LFOs and the octave of the frequency modulator LFO, the tone can shift quite dramatically. You don't want the exact same growl just to be playing over and over again. So by just changing a few subtle parameters, you can get vastly different results. An interesting point to note, when I do the post-processing, I don't necessarily do it in order. I'll usually have it running through a clipper first, because the clipper gives you an idea what the sound will sound like at the end. Then you can go back and modify the other parameters until you get a sound that you're overall happy with. On the actual growl channel itself, a little bit of boost, a little bit of cut. A decapitator, this is just adding some like tiny amount of crunch. An EQ, adding quite drastic peaks and notches, running it through a multi-band trash, which will amplify the peaks and the notches, and then you can clean it up after. Usually when you're distorting like this, you'll get quite a muddy mid area. I like to have nice clean harmonics in my bass sound. And then over 500 hertz, it can start becoming a bit more muddled. But to keep things clean, I want the sub bass and the low mid to be pretty solid harmonic wise. An OTT, some basic mid slide splitting. Reverb, another OTT, some Saturn, quite extreme in the highs. Another EQ to clean up, then the clipper. And again, like I showed in the previous video, I separate out my sub so I can process it separately. This last EQ in particular needs to be done as you mix down your song. As you add more elements and the mix changes, you'll need to fit this sound around everything else in your mix. So subtle EQ adjustments can go a long way. And yeah, and the end result's this.
And as always, like and follow for more.